begin today's podcast by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we record today, the Darkin Young people. I pay my respects to elders, past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening today. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Hello and welcome to another episode of Your Parent Coach. I'm Mel, I'm a parent coach and a youth mentor, and today I'm really excited to be joined by Safiya Omosanya, a mum of three daughters and a trauma-informed cycle breaker coach who has transformed her relationship with her children by learning to regulate herself first. She shares her journey into conscious parenting and what real connected relationships look like when we choose curiosity, healing, and growth over repeating the same cycles. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So excited to chat to you today. I have so many great questions, and I want to dive in with my first question that I'm asking everybody this year, which is there something that either your child or a child that you've known has taught you that you couldn't learn through training or education?
Mm. Well, I can say something that my youngest, she's 11, and I want to say she was around 7 at the time. I actually have this like little video I made on Instagram of our conversation. Um, but she taught me in relationships, you want to always validate first. So, what happened was she was having a difficult time with a math
Mhm.
problem, and me being a well-meaning parent, I said, she said, "This is hard," and I said, "And you can do hard things, right?"
Mhm.
Which
Mhm.
sounds great, right? And
Totally.
she said, "You hurt my feelings." And I said, right. Now she has the comfort to be able to tell me things like that. Because, in my mind, I thought I knew a lot. I thought I knew,
Yeah.
I've been in the self-development industry and trauma and all of those things. So I said, oh, that kind of woke me up. And I said, oh. And then I put out my camera to record, and I said, so can we have a redo?
Mm. Mm.
And so then I said, okay. So she said, this is hard. And I said, it's hard. Okay, I see. What do you need from me right now? Right. And so that's when I learned, like, oh, validate first, and that's a well-meaning parent thing. Like, oh, I want, be positive, like you can
Yeah,
do hard things.
100%.
But I needed to validate what she was saying first. So that was one of the things that I learned.
That's so interesting, because it's not wrong what you said. Like as you said, it's motivating, it's positive, whatever, but it's the order in which we share that information because yeah, like you can do hard things, that's true. But it's, where do we start with that when they're in the depths of it or do we
Right.
start somewhere else? So yeah, I love that. That's so powerful. And I
Yeah.
love that it came from your daughter, which is awesome. Um,
Yeah.
Yes, great. It's so good. I love asking this question because everybody that I've had on the podcast this year has all shared different things, and I'm hoping to like stitch them all together and be able to share like learnings from children,
Mm,
right? Which I think will
that's
be really,
wise.
really
Yeah, they have a lot of wisdom. They can teach you a lot if you are open to listen, for
it's
sure.
very true, very true. So you've spoken about, not having that healthy parent blueprint growing up.
Mhm, mhm.
What did becoming like a cycle breaker actually look like for you in real life, in real practice, not just in theory?
Yeah. So what I'll say is, as far as not having a healthy blueprint, I think, and I just made 50 like January 3rd, right? And so,
Well done.
um, yeah. Um, I would say, in my generation, it's kind of common
Mhm.
um, that most parents did not have a clue of what kids really need. Okay, they just didn't, right? So I want to say first what I learned and then go from there. Like what I learned with kids actually need to thrive. So there's a doctor. He's a doctor. His name is Dr. Gabor Mate,
Mm.
and he's like you've heard of him.
Oh
You've
yeah.
heard of him. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Some people have. Some people haven't when I
Mhm.
do these interviews. And so he's a trauma expert. And I remember I learned he said something that really stuck with me, and then I followed that, and it's so true. Okay. So he said that what kids need to thrive is they need um, emotionally regulated caregiver that can hold space for them in all of their emotions. So, like, all emotions are welcome and they allow them to be with all of their emotions. And then that parent also is able to, regulate their own emotions. And then the children do not have to perform to get love.
Mm.
So they're able to be their authentic self. And
Yeah.
so and a lot of times, there's two options, either authenticity or attachment, right? And so because kids have to survive, it's like if they don't have that parent that says, okay, who you are is okay, just the way you are, then they have to then abandon that for the attachment.
Mm.
So that right there was like, okay, I
Mm.
get that, right? So that was kind of like my blueprint as I started to kind of study and get into the world of trauma and understanding trauma and what that really is, because I think a lot of people think that trauma is just like this big event, like major event
Yeah.
that happens to people, but it's actually what happens inside of us as a result. So it could be a result of an event. So it could be you didn't get enough of something or it was too much of something, right?
Mm.
So there is a such thing as developmental trauma where the kid doesn't have the regulated parent. They can't feel
Mhm.
all of their emotions. They can't be their authentic self, right? So that is a trauma
Mm.
to the kid. Okay. So I know in my day, most, the information is out now. It wasn't out then.
No.
So, I came from parents who um experienced a lot of trauma. And while I feel blessed in the fact that um I kind of was able to be myself kind of for the
Mm.
most part, kind of. I say
Mhm.
kind of, you know. Mm, you know, so that wasn't the biggest issue, but it was there was no like emotional regular like it was they
Yeah.
didn't have that,
What was the
right?
missing piece that so you
That was a
had
missing piece.
one part and then there was the missing piece. Yeah.
That was the missing piece. And so because of that, and because of their own trauma background, and you know the information just wasn't out there, so they didn't know. They
Mhm.
just you have kids, and you just think that that's it. You just have
Yeah.
kids, and you just do
Yeah.
the best you can, right?
That's right. You do what you can with what you have.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't get the best ideal to be able to thrive, so I suffered greatly, I would say, just as far as social, emotional, just you know um it was just hard just being in my skin, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't get a healthy blueprint, and I because of what they went through, they you could only show up with what they had.
Yeah.
So once I because I suffered so,
Mm.
and I guess there was something in me that was like, I can't, like, this is not okay, like I can't live like
Something's
this. So
gotta something's gotta change.
something has to give, because I can't hang around here
Yeah.
and live like this, right? So I got into like self-development when I was about 31 years old.
Mhm.
So it's been almost 20 years. I've been on this path of growth and development, and things just continue to unfold for me. But like when you have kids,
Mm.
um, yeah, like that right there is like it shows you all your stuff. It's like they are like holding up a mirror and showing you like everything.
There's no room to hide.
There's no hiding when you become a parent, okay? And so the different struggles I had like with people pleasing and
Hmm.
not knowing how to set boundaries and not that shows up in the parenting. Okay.
Mm.
So I was kind of like passive aggressive parent.
Mm.
Sometimes I was nice and loving, but then if I was triggered and I felt helpless and they were like pushing the boundary and I out in the world, I don't know how to really speak up for myself. So I have these kids. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm more powerful than them. So I can just I used to call it use my parent power, right? And just like
Mm.
scream and yell and
Yeah.
kind of scare them to get them to do what I want them to
Yeah.
do.
That authoritarian lens.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mm.
that was kind of how that showed up, and I would say my middle daughter, who is today is the 14th, I think, right? Yeah. So on the 15th of January, which is tomorrow, she'll be 18.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So she, I would say, was one of my greatest teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of being a for me, a part of being a cycle breaker is looking at what's not working and making a shift. And so how do you know what's not working? Well, you look at what the triggers are.
Mm.
And a lot of a lot of parents don't know this, that oh, my child's behavior, how they're showing up or whatever is kind of a window into my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know at first.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
she was younger, it was bad because she was like a strong-willed kid.
Yeah.
And so she really, really pushed my buttons and I was just out of control. And I was looking at some old video footage, and like
Mm.
1 minute I'm like, "Oh, hi, sweetie," and then the next minute, I'm just like yelling, and because my oldest daughter, who's 21, she would be recording because she was like the golden child, she's like the good kid,
Yeah.
right? So
Classic
she,
oldest.
yes, me too, me too. So
Love that for us.
so she would so she was like, okay, Bobby's little helper. So she's like pulling out the recorder to
Hmm.
record our interactions, and then she'd be like, oh, mom, I'm so sorry, you poor thing. And I'd be like, yeah, I know, right? And
Mm.
it was more like my child was the problem,
Yeah.
not realizing it was like, oh, she's like triggering me and I'm feeling powerless
Yeah.
because I can't like power over her as she gets older. It's like I can't the yelling and the screaming and the like. You do what I say. That wasn't
Mhm.
working with her. She'd be like, "No,
Yeah, no,
huh?"
she's pushing back. Yeah, it's quite a it's interesting because it's humbling. It's a humbling
Yes.
experience to come to that realization that, oh, I see what's happening here, but also having that realization that you are going down those same patterns, or like it's your turn. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's your
Yeah.
turn to have those moments of outburst or whatever because that's what you saw. And so
Yes.
that's correct, you know?
Yes. Absolutely, 100%. Because I was kind of like rebellious. I mean, my mom would get into it, and she'd say,
Hmm.
I hope that you had a kid that grows up to be just like you. Right. And
Hmm.
so that's why earlier when I said I was kind of, I
Yeah.
was still myself because I
Yeah.
wasn't going to back down. But I basically got the feedback like, I don't like this part of you. I don't like this you. Right.
Yeah.
So then here I am face to face with that with the kid.
Hmm.
Right. So then it's like, okay, you know, the kid is the problem.
Hmm.
So we battled, and I'd be like, you need to get it together, and
Hmm.
and now fortunately, I guess, fortunately for both of us, because I was in this like self-development world,
Yeah.
as I continue to kind of, work on trying to better myself, it just kind of was a natural
Mm.
thing to say, let me look at how I'm doing in this whole parenting department, because this doesn't feel
Yeah.
like my best self.
Yeah.
This
It's
doesn't
not serving.
feel right.
Not serving.
No, this isn't helpful.
No.
And so um what happened is she started as she got to be in junior high. I think it was maybe she was about 12ish, 13ish.
Mm.
um there is she started to show some signs of like um social issues, like not doing well with friendships
Mm.
and maybe some self-esteem stuff. And fortunately, because I was starting to do, the work and myself, she did come to me um to tell me like, I think something's going on with me mentally,
Yeah.
and we were able to kind of talk about it and kind of up with some goals and
Mm.
things like that. So I'm very grateful because I could see how, if I would not have been in the work and she wasn't able to come and talk to me,
Very easy to
would
have lost that
oh
thread
man,
really,
oh
really
man,
quickly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And once you don't have that attachment and you lose it with your kid, then the outside world, they attach out there and
100%.
start to
They
try to
will
get
they
stuff.
will find something to fill that void or
Yeah.
gap or and it's not always the best thing,
Oh no,
right?
it's usually not.
It's usually not.
Because their peers is like can't really, you know what I mean? They're going through their own stuff,
Yeah.
and they need that. Kids need that love of their caregiver.
Yeah.
And she told me like, I don't feel likable. Like I feel like you like my sisters. And by this time, I had her younger sister. My youngest now is 11, and she's like, I feel like you like my sisters more than me. And if I'm honest with you, I kind of did at the time
Okay.
because I thought she was the problem
Yeah.
initially,
Yeah.
and but I realized that she was just kind of reflecting back to me all of my stuff, that maybe I hadn't dealt with, or the ways that you know my mom and I's interaction,
Yeah.
things like that. It was just, and
Yeah.
so fortunately, I kind of got into conscious parenting where it's like, as the parent, you look at yourself and like, what is this and this kid reflecting, back to you? And it's more of like learning and lessons opposed to like, it's the kid's problem and they need to change.
It's so, it's funny that you say that because I don't know if you've heard of, you probably have heard of the concept of reparenting.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
honey, that's what I've
yeah.
been doing.
Yeah. So what you're saying is like, I'm like, oh, this sounds very much like reparenting.
Oh, yeah.
Um, there's this film in Australia that came out, I think a year ago, like a doco film called Seen the film.
Mm,
Highly recommend
mm,
anybody listening
okay.
or even yourself to watch it. I believe it's available online, but it's
Okay.
exactly what you're describing. It's this
Mm,
reparenting, it's this having that moment of clarity where you go, ooh, I see what's happening. And
mhm,
instead of taking on that defensive, natural defensive, well, I'm not the problem, they're the problem, which is, to be
mhm.
honest with you, where a lot of parents land. And that's kind of what
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in here is that if they're
Yeah.
not in the self development world or even touching the sides of that kind of realm, it can be really confronting and like the ego stab, when
Mhm.
you see these things and a lot of people just go, nope, that's a too big of a problem for me right now. How can we like allow parents to dip their toe into this realm?
I think if they can look at their triggers,
Mm,
because the thing about triggers are, it's like when you're triggered, it doesn't usually match like the situation at hand. And
True.
so if they're like having triggers with their kids, if they could just look at like, what is this bringing up inside of me? And like, when have I felt this before? Like,
Mm.
what's familiar about this? Because, what a lot of people don't know is triggers are like that, like window, or I don't know if that's the right word, but to healing. Like if you take your triggers and you like look at them and really kind of trace them, you'll trace them back that this is not the first time you felt this way,
Mm.
and that's how you can start your healing.
Mm.
Is like, oh, because it's like a younger part of you saying, hey, like I'm still here,
Yeah.
and this doesn't feel good, and I never was able to like fully feel this before in the past, and I'm coming up right now, right? And so if one could just start there, like, oh, I'm triggered, and like, what's this bringing up in me?
Yeah, so, like and just taking a minute to even physically write it down because we all know
Hmm.
it's a lot, but sometimes to just write it
Hmm.
down and go, "Oh, I noticed this." I don't have to
Hmm.
do anything about it yet,
Right, just
but
yeah.
I noticed this and I'm
Yeah.
acknowledging it, and that's where I'm at.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, that's really powerful. I think then, like, my next sort of part of this is, you know, a lot of parents use their energy to not do this stuff, right? And they focus on strategies for their kids and how to help their kids regulate and all of those things.
Hmm.
But they
Hmm.
don't put any energy into regulating their own nervous system.
Yeah.
And when they make that switch of, where they allocate their energy over to their own regulation, why is that so important and how does it improve connection?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I, definitely believe that one, you can't just have your child out getting help and
Mm,
you not do anything at all. Um, because nervous systems pick up on, other nervous systems, and our kids are going to pick up on our nervous systems. Okay. As we have something called like mirror neurons. And, um, especially if you have a sensitive kid. Like some kids maybe aren't as sensitive. I know I was pretty sensitive, and I have two sensitive kids. All of them are kind of sensitive, but two of them are really sensitive.
mm,
Um, and so picking up nervous system is saying like, is this person safe,
mm,
right? And the only way for you to register as safe in the kid's nervous system is if you are regulating your own system. So if your nervous system is in like fight or flight,
mm,
and it's like and I've been there, I've been fight or flight, and I've been in what is called so that's the sympathetic nervous system response, and then like then there's the dorsal response, and people will hear that as like freeze, and
mhm.
then there's something else called shutdown as well. And I've been in all of them. And I'm going to tell you, being in, so let's just start talking about fight or flight first. So being in fight or flight, that's where you're like, you're yelling
Mm,
and screaming, and you're impatient and you're rushing, and, and I've been there where it's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And, screaming and hollering, and you're not, you're not going to be safe to
mm.
your kid if you're dysregulated yourself. So how can they really fully, like, they can learn all the different
Yeah,
tools, but if
they
the
can't implement.
environment that if the environment that you're in is not safe because your caregivers aren't safe, your system is not going to register that you're safe.
That's
So it's an absolute necessity. Okay. And then you have the dorsal state where it's kind of like the parent is just kind of like frozen and can't really, you know, um, do much at all. And they're just like,
almost that avoidant
yeah,
part.
they're
Yeah.
just not, just not dealing. And I know my kids told me like, Mom, you used to just like never smile, because I went from after a while, you can only, like, some people can hang out in fight or flight for a long time. But for me, I was in, because of um, my, growing up,
Mm.
and just, to the parents and that I had anxiety from the time I was a kid. So by the time I got older, the fight or flight burned out. And then I went into like dorsal. And my
Mm-hmm.
kids were like, you never smiled. You never used to smile. You didn't laugh.
Mm.
I was just like, because the facial expression says it all.
Oh yeah.
So it's just kind of like,
Yeah, and kids are visual and also energetic, right? Like they're not just
hmm
looking at you and your facial expressions. That's one layer, that's like the surface layer. And then they're also picking up on, okay, mum's face is like this, but also her energy is like this, like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
really interesting. I think it comes
hmm
back to that, like that saying by Maya Angelou. It's like, once you know better, do better, right? But
hmm
when your
hmm
kids are pointing out to you, like saying, Mum, this is what we're observing, and you can either
Yeah.
take that on and
hmm
use that to help drive you, or you can get defensive and go into that further shutdown, right?
And that's what a lot of parents do, and there's a reason for that.
Mm,
Um, so I like to be gentle, because it's like, if
mm,
you don't know, you don't know. Like, if you didn't get it, I just don't happen to end up in the self development world, and really, it's a spiritual thing for me. This is like a part of my purpose on this earth,
mhm,
right? And so I was blessed to be in that world, but a lot of people, parents, we don't know. So there's what you call emotional immaturity, and
mm,
so you develop emotional immaturity. It just means that you didn't develop to that maturity level emotionally, right? So you don't have emotional intelligence. Now, that sounds like, oh gosh, you're saying I'm not, but it's not like a jab. It's like reality, in the fact that if you grew up where you didn't see healthy communication, you didn't see person who could regulate their emotions, if you didn't see healthy repair, rupture where there's an issue and then repair, you're gonna be emotionally stunted. I
yeah,
mean, it just is what it is, right? So then if somebody presents something to you, and it's like you feel this, there's a shame that happens, and it happens out of the awareness, out of the conscious awareness. So there's a feeling of shame,
mhm,
and then it's like, oh, gotta throw that back,
yeah,
boomerang back, because this
yeah,
don't feel good, because you never taught how to be with this
yes. It's like
uncomfortableness.
a
Yes.
protective like armor, and you want to reflect that off you.
Get that away, get that away, right? Because
Yeah,
this, I don't know what to do with this, right? And so that's what happens. And so for me, my kids, there was that safety for them to be able to come and kind of call me out and be honest and things like that.
yeah,
And and I asked them, anytime I'm gonna go on these different, be interviewed, I always talk to my kids again. And like, how many times you're gonna ask me? But I'm just like, okay, tell me
yeah.
what makes me safe, right? And
Mm,
so, and they said that, because I can come to you with anything,
mm,
and you don't get defensive, you
mhm.
don't have a problem with apologizing,
Yeah,
and you're working on being the best you. And so that's what the feedback. And I asked each one of them separately, and that's what they all said. So
yeah.
there we
Can we just repeat those? So not getting
yeah.
defensive. What?
Yes. So if I do something, because I sometimes like lose my cool, not like how I used to, but
Mm,
sometimes, I'm human, right?
human.
And
Yeah,
I'm human. I'll come back and apologize.
yeah, apologize.
Okay. Apologize. Um, and did I say something else? Let's see. Not being a defensive, apologizing,
And working
them
on
being able to working on myself. There we go. Working on being my best self, like the best human being I can be. That is my goal
yeah.
or my intention. And that's actually the name of my company, is called Best Me.
I love
And
it.
so
I love
yeah,
it. Because you
yeah.
know what? I think parents, and if you're listening today, and a lot of this might be bringing up some stuff for you, and that's okay. But just know that we're here and we're listening and we're validating you first. But also,
Mhm.
it's okay if this is bringing up stuff for you and you feel like, wow, this is all a lot. Start with
Mhm.
one thing, start with a
Mhm.
small thing.
Mhm.
And, I'm about to ask you what it looks like in those moments. How do you regulate yourself? Because
Yes.
a lot of parents might, not, it might be overwhelming for them to dive into
Yes.
self-help, but they can make small actionable changes, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
on a daily.
Absolutely.
So talk me through. Let's make a scenario. One of your daughters has had something's happened in their day and it's just really not good timing for you. How do you approach that? How do you make sure you stay as that open, non-defensive, apologetic person
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
like in the moment when it's tough?
Yeah. Yeah. So, for I'm gonna tell people what they can do. For me now, I have gotten to the point where I don't have many days where I'm not available for them. Like that was my number one intention, is to be able to be there and to
Mm,
have that presence, but wasn't always like that. So
mm, mm,
what I did, so I am trained in EFT, emotional freedom techniques. Okay. And that's one of my very first tool that I kind of learned to have emotional regulation with. So what I will do is just give a a little brief way to get started with doing that. Look like a little shortcut,
mm, mm.
and then an explanation. Um, so first of all, this is going to be a video
Yes.
somewhere, right? Possibly. Okay. So I'm gonna say, so we have this bottle here, right? I got this 64-ounce bottle, right? Okay. So when we already have our own chronic stress and maybe traumas and wounds from childhood, then that bottle is already full. Okay. So
Mhm,
then now we're going to add on different daily stressors, and this is going to keep piling up stuff with the kids. And so
mhm,
this is how we just don't have that capacity to be able to be there and be present for the kid because we have too much going on ourselves. So we want to start to empty that bottle some, right? Okay. So I got trained in EFT, emotional freedom techniques. I can kind of, I guess I'll explain that. So it's called emotional freedom techniques, and it's like modern psychology meets Eastern medicine,
mhm,
and it's acupressure. Point. Well, it's kind of like acupressure, where we're like tapping on different points on our body, and it's some of the same points that an acupuncturist will put needles in. And when we're tapping on these points, we are speaking out what's bothering us. So that's kind of more of the modern psychology, where we are speaking out what's going on, what's bothering us, while tapping on these points. And as we're tapping on these points, we're sending a signal to our amygdala, that part of our brain that is responsible for turning on the fight or flight response. We're sending a signal, and we're saying we're safe. There's no threat. There's no danger. We're good, right? So you get a chance to bring up what's going on, and you're calming your system, and it kind of just neutralizes that, and you just kind of get back up here in the front part of your brain, because when your amygdala is firing, you're in your emotional part of your brain. And so that right there, when I learned that, it was like, okay, this is
mhm.
wonderful, right? So I started, and I ended up becoming emotionally regulated by accident. Okay, and what I mean
Love
by
that.
that is, I was I was using it every day. Like when I learned it, it was like the heavens opened up, and and so I was using it every day. I would excuse myself, and I would tell the kids, I gotta go tap. I'll be back. I gotta go tap. And
Mm,
every day it would be, I would check it with myself, and I would say, okay, what's bothering you?
mm,
Right. And because things always was bothering me, like I said,
mm.
raised with my parents who, were raised in trauma, like just like the world was like a dangerous place.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like pessimistic, like the
Mhm,
world is coming to an end, everything overwhelmed me.
mhm,
So I was like, okay, let me excuse myself. And I would just do this every day. I didn't know that I was like emptying out that bottle little by little, every day, as I just brought up all the things that were bothering me, and I'm sending a signal to my body and my brain that I'm safe, it's okay, there's no danger. And it just started, just I just became more and more calmer, because I was like kind of one of those moms that would go into mom rage.
Hmm.
And and yeah, so that was my thing. That's how I accidentally became emotionally regulated. And then I kind of been, just diving into the whole world. And now everybody is talking about nervous system regulation. Um, and so now I understand more, because when I got into EFT, it was more of what they call like woo woo. They didn't have a lot of
Yeah.
science around it at the time. But now there's more science around it and everything. And so that's one of my best go-to, nervous system regulation, tools. There's others that I do now, but that's the best one to just kind of empty out on a
Yeah.
daily basis.
And it's quick,
So I
right? Like a
it's
couple of
it's
minutes.
a it's just quick. And I would say just go to like the collarbone point, find your collarbone, go like an inch down, and just tap and just speak out and just vent and just get whatever, just like you're talking to a friend or just venting. And I would do that. I would driving, and I'd use one hand driving, and if something was bothering me, and I just was just a tapping mad woman. Um and that, and so that really shifted things for me. So I would say to start there, because I did take different classes and stuff, and I tried all those different strategies,
Yeah.
and they didn't work because I was too dysregulated.
Yeah, you
So
need
it
that
didn't work.
tactile. It's the same as what I would share with young people is I always share like more tactile exercises to get them to regulate their emotions. Like I have one
Mhm.
called 10 toes where they're literally pushing their
Mhm.
toes into the ground. Like it's a tactile
Mhm.
thing, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
it's the
yes,
same. Like
yes.
I think adults forget that just because you're an adult doesn't mean you don't need, similar
Oh, oh
feedback,
yeah,
that
yeah.
physical feedback. Mm,
Yes, yes, because we want to. What we're doing is we're showing our system that we're safe. Because when our nervous systems get dysregulated, they don't just up and regulate themselves back. And then if you keep on pouring on more and more stress and stress and stress, it just stays more and more dysregulated.
that's right.
So it never regulates itself. So we have to come in and communicate with it. And the nervous system speaks not through words, but through the body.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. So if we're leaving parents with one thing that they can take out of this, it's try that
Yeah.
method, and
Mhm.
just take a pause, like take a few seconds. If you're feeling that way, it's okay to also remove yourself from the room or the space, or
Mhm.
even if you just go stand in the pantry or the bathroom, whatever that looks like, because we know that kids follow. Go go somewhere where they probably won't look for you. Stand in your closet, in your wardrobe, and do it, and just a couple of minutes, and then come back. And I think that's the key is also instead of avoidance, you've done the thing that you need to do, you've regulated
Mhm.
yourself, and then come back.
Yes,
Come back to the situation. Don't just leave it open. Close it out.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a good modeling too, because my children now go and do that for themselves. So like my 21-year-old, she uses tapping or some other nervous system stuff. So she likes to write
Hmm.
sometimes or whatever. And call me. So they now go and do it. So the benefits of it is I have kids that don't vape. Like that's
Hmm.
like a common one now.
It is.
And
They're using
and
it for
it's that's
that
to
regulation.
regulate. They have to regulate because
True.
we're meant to be regulated. So we're gonna find some type of way to regulate ourselves because we're
Yeah.
meant to, right? So yeah, so instead of going and doing that, they meditate, they tap, my 11-year-old, she likes to go for a walk, and I have to tell her, no, wait a minute, it's nighttime. Like, no, 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 go stand on the back porch. And
Yeah,
she like
yeah.
need to like move my body. She like, I'm dysregulated, right? And she uses the language, right? She's like, Mom, I'm dysregulated right now. I can't talk to you right now. I can't do anything right now. I need to go regulate myself, right? And so, they now, because I modeled that to them, now
Mm.
they can go do it for themselves. Then they don't have to, turn to different things to try to regulate themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're finding that those tools, not just in the way that you've shared them, but they're going, "Oh, okay, this is how mum does it.
Mhm.
What's gonna work for me?" And
Mhm, they found their own way.
that's right. And then seeing that, and then, that's all part of breaking that cycle. And then they're going to
Mhm.
use that when they might get into relationships one day and when
Mhm.
they have their own families and so on and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yes.
And it even just with friendships and colleagues. And I know in the workplace, that's a big one, right? Like being able to
Mhm.
regulate in those hard moments.
Oh my goodness. It is absolute necessity. I mean, I didn't even realize, because of course I wasn't always, but once you get it, then that is a part, as a leader of a company, as the leader of your household, as the leader, wherever you're at, it is an absolute necessity. Otherwise, you make other people's life a living hell when you're not.
It's so true. And it takes sometimes something like this, like listening to this episode, to go, oh, okay, this is hitting home. Maybe it's hard to hear, but there's support,
Yeah.
and so that leads me to, where can people find you? How can people connect with you, learn more, just, yeah, even just for some guidance?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's at Safiya, Safiya underscore the cycle breaking mom.
Love it. I will
So
put
you
that in the
can,
show notes, everybody. So go there and check it out. Give her a follow. And yeah, I think everybody should, just listen to this episode with an open heart, an open mind,
yes.
and know that it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of pure support and love.
100%. 100%. And also I am offering like complimentary, like I'm ready to break the cycle session. So there is like my calendar is on Instagram, or if you wanted to just link, I don't know if I gave it to you or not, but you can link the
Yes.
calendar link in the show notes.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. So
Okay.
everybody, there is always support out there. You don't have to do this alone. Parenting is actually not designed to be done alone. It's supposed to be
Mm-mm.
done in community with a village with support. And I feel like in the last 20, 30 years, we've really have lost that. And so I'm trying to bring that back. And so if you are listening today and any of this resonates, share it with another parent, share, share, subscribe, do all the things. Check us out on YouTube, and just know that by sharing this with one person, you are creating that community yourself. So thank
Mm.
you all for listening. Thank you so much for being here, Safiya.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so, so grateful for your time. And I will catch everybody else in the next episode. Bye.